What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. We're here on the SEC channel at the voice of college football. It's time for my Week 5 power rankings. When we look at the SEC, I think now it's pretty clear-cut how these rankings should look. Maybe you could tweak a couple teams here and there, but we didn't know as much earlier in the year, obviously, but now we pretty much know about these teams, and I think the rankings really reflect now what I expected them to look like in the preseason. I think what most people expected them to look like. Let's jump right into it, and the bottom four have not changed at all, so these teams have been right here the last couple of weeks. Vanderbilt's still at number 14. They proved that they can't compete with the top teams in the SEC. Really no chance against Alabama. And Auburn and Missouri at 12 and 13 both looked awful in their game, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe the defensives are just that good. I think that's just being nice, though. That was an ugly game. Auburn very fortunate to win it, but they did win it, and that's why I have them ahead of Missouri. But both of those teams have a lot of work to do, especially on offense. And it's going to be interesting to see Vanderbilt and Missouri to see just where those two teams stack up against each other. I'm really curious to see, is Vanderbilt still that worst team in the SEC? Maybe they're not. It's kind of hard to say right now. South Carolina, number 11. They got it going this past week with an easy win. They are 2-2. I think still have potential to move up in these rankings, but I tell you what, the SEC is just so tough. And looking at some of the games coming up, I mean, it's going to be a grind. I do still have South Carolina number 11. So 11 through 14, the exact same, no change at all. We do have some changes in the top 10. Let's go there now. At number 10, we have Florida, their second loss. That's going to knock them down to number 10. But this is probably the best 2-2 team in the country. I know we made jokes last year about Nebraska being the best 3-9 team in the history of college football. Florida is a very good 2-2 team. They have a loss to top 10 teams. They've lost to top 10 teams in Kentucky and Tennessee, and they still have a win over a top 25 team in Utah. Who else has played that many quality games so far this season? Maybe you can make an argument about Arkansas, but I think Florida even has them beat. So yes, they're at number 10 just because of that 2-2 record, but they could easily jump right back up into the top 5 or so here in just a couple of weeks. They'll have some opportunities, of course, coming up. Mississippi State at number 9. Really haven't, they had a quiet week this past week with an easy win, coming off of that loss to LSU. Big opportunity coming up for them with Texas A&M. That's going to be a good one, and they will have their opportunity to move up in these rankings. LSU at number 8, easy win against the Cupcake. They're 3-1. The loss of Florida State, though, is looking better and better. Florida State looks like a really good team, and they had a chance in that game. Big opportunity for them to get to 4-1 on the road at Auburn. They're going to be favored in that game. They should win that game, and if they do, that Tennessee versus LSU game is going to be a fun one coming up. Can't wait for that one. Arkansas at number 7. Tough loss to Texas A&M, even though I think you can make the argument that they were the better team. They look like the better team, but give Texas A&M credit. They made the plays when they had to. Arkansas did not make the plays. They finished there. They moved to number 7 with a 3-1 record and a brutal schedule coming up for them. A&M at number 6 because of their win. And they're coming along. They're coming along. The defense has been pretty solid for them. The offense, I believe, is much better with Max Johnson. They're able to run the football. The passing game still has some work to do. The offensive line still has some work to do. This is a young team, but a team that, I'm telling you, is just going to get better and better, and a team that you're not going to want to play in November. We'll see what they look like against a veteran and Mississippi State team. That'll be a fun matchup there. I believe Mississippi State is favored in that one. We'll see if the Aggies can continue to get this, to play the way they've been playing and maybe get on a roll here. Of course, Alabama coming up soon is going to be a big challenge for them. Let's go to the top 5. Ole Miss at number 5. Not a great performance for them this past Saturday, but if you look at the big picture overall, Rebels still looking good, running the football at an extremely high level. Might be the best rushing attack in the SEC. Kentucky at number 4. They haven't looked great against some of the lesser teams that they've played, but they do have the win over Florida. That's enough to put them at number 4. Tennessee at number 3. What a win over the Gators. I've been kind of holding off on Tennessee. They had the win over Pitt, but I wasn't really sure how good Pitt was. I wanted to see them play this game against Florida before I bumped them up to number 3. Now we know that Tennessee is the real deal. That offense is as good as we expected it to be. Defense still with some work to do, but they're going to have to win shootouts. That's how they'll have to win games. But the offense is capable of doing that, and I think the Vols are sitting there at number 3, and I don't think you can really even argue with that. The top 3 to me pretty clear. Alabama at number 2. Easy one over Vanderbilt. Tennessee game starting to look more and more like a fluke. Or excuse me, the Texas game is starting to look more and more like a fluke. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see what they do on the road at Arkansas. If they are a playoff team again this year, I think that they'll win that game by at least a couple of scores. But will we see some of those struggles come back? That will be very interesting to see. Does the offensive line struggle? Are they able to get open the receivers? Arkansas secondary has not been good this year, and so I think that's a good matchup for Alabama. But I just think that's going to be a good one. I think that's going to be a fun game, and really, really curious to see how it's going to play out. Georgia, I know, struggled against Kent State, but we've seen enough to know that this is still, I think, the best team in the country. Teams are going to have off games. At least it was against Kent State and not in a big game. And I think, again, when you look at both sides of the ball, this Georgia team, it's the best team in the country, and I still don't think there's much debate there. Ohio State's offense looking great, so maybe you can make an argument there. Alabama, let's see them over the next couple of weeks to see if maybe they can pass Georgia. But based off of what I've seen so far, it's still Georgia at number 1. We'd love to get your thoughts. Let me know what you think about these power rankings. Give me your power rankings down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more right here on the SEC channel at the Voice of College Football.